Really and truly, I know persons who've been doing YouTube for years, and you know they've not reached to where I've been. But that don't mean that you're going to start getting big-headed and be like, oh, come on, like man, I have a video with 78,000 views. That don't mean nothing, you know. I'm still very humble, and I'm still doing it for the love right now. Once I start doing it for the likes, that's when everything just start going downhill.
Alright, so welcome back to episode 2 of Beyond the Influence. Mr. 2020 himself, Kareem BwoyaTingz. Thank you so much for agreeing.
Mr. 2020,
yeah,
that's
man.
a new intro though.
I'm
gonna use that. No one gonna use that one, Mr. 2020.
Yeah, man.
Love that.
You're the one who, you know, social media space, you took over Twitter, Instagram, everything. Everybody was talking about BwoyaTingz. Like, give a synopsis of what 2020 was like for you.
2020 started very shaky, to be honest, you know, as for all of us. As it relates to, you know, the COVID thing and stuff like that, and I was in a total different direction in my life. I was more level-headed based on past experiences, and I, you know, created the whole BwoyaTingz brand and everything December 2019, leading up to 2020, and that was just for a clothing thing, like just an online clothing store. You know, enough people hear the story all the time, and then that transcended from the online clothing store to COVID started, and we were all bored. We were all on lockdown. There's nothing to do. There's no money making. There's nothing at all that you know, creatives could have done in that space. You know, mentally I was out of it as well, and I just started to do some IG live, and the IG live just spun into a podcast, and then the podcast started, the radio show, and you know, everything else has started to fall into place, and that's what's, you know, that's how crazy life is, eventually.
Alright, so you had a lot of ups. Like, what would you say is what would stand out most about 2020, whether it's a podcast episode or
what would stand out most for me? What would stand out most for me for 2020 would have just been the whole starting of the movement. Just the whole thing, you know, just starting the podcast was really and truly mind-blowing to me, because I never have this in my mind, any way, shape or form. It just happened. So that is a stand-up moment for me.
I saw you make a tweet the other day. You said that you don't have any inspiration, was the word, to start the podcast. I hope that's not true, because I know a lot of persons are depending on the podcast.
Here we go on. And I try to tell people that motivation was the word that I used.
Motivation,
right. What was happening is, you know, when I take a break from something, it's not that you don't love it, but for the podcast aspect of it, you know, I create all the topics and everything, and it's 10 weeks, 10 episodes. I just lacked motivation, because, you know, like sometimes you take a break and you just enjoy the moment. You know, so the motivation never really kick in yet for me to say, yo, alright, I'm gonna start back this date or that date, or I'm gonna go, you know, these are the topics that I want to do, or these are the topics I want to talk about. But, you know, slowly but surely, prior and the people that are cuss me every day on Twitter and on Instagram and all about. So I'm about to start. I'm gonna actually start shooting in 2 days.
So you've become literally something that everybody look forward to every week, you know. Your radio show is very entertaining. So do you feel like a sense of responsibility to keep everybody entertained?
Yes and no, because really and truly it comes natural to me. Because it is a thing where I tell people every day that if you're doing anything for anything at all that you're doing, you know, to please anybody else but yourself, it's not going to make any sense. So when I decide on topics, or when I might reach out to social media and just be like, yo, what topics, you know, you guys want to talk about, or my team, and I say, yo, you know, let's now discuss the topics moving forward. If I don't feel like something I'm going to really enjoy discussing, I'm not going to discuss it. So I don't really feel a responsibility to want to put on a show, because I tell people this every day. If it's just 4 people listening or 1 person listening, I'm pleased. At least that 1 person is getting the message or is getting entertained in any way, shape.
So this is something you're passionate about?
Definitely. Surprisingly.
Yeah.
You understand?
Because it wasn't originally something you planned.
No, like I never studied media, like I never did none of this professionally before.
Yeah.
I wasn't a media student. I didn't go and get no bachelor's in mass comm and all and stuff like that. But I've always find myself, I like to see other persons enjoying themselves, or even just not about enjoyment, but I love to see the reaction from people. You know, when persons DMs me very, very often and ask me, you know, advice and stuff like that. So it really just becomes natural.
All right. So for persons like me who just started YouTube, there's not like a sense of expectation, right? But for you, you already set a high bar. How do you plan on approaching maintaining that high bar?
That's a good question because I do it seasonally.
Yeah.
So my podcast is 10 episodes per season, and I'm now about to start season number 3. When you kind of look back on the work that you've done previously, and you're like, all right,
what's next?
You've had my last season. I've had Milk and Aishana and the Mitchells and you know everybody else that comes to create that big thing of season number 2. You're just like, how are you going to outdo yourself? But then that is where now, once you start to live with that mindset, you start to pressure yourself. So just go with the pace. You know, me personally, again, I don't try to look on, oh, this topic is going to be such a big topic. Because when you do that and you don't get the reception that you thought about, you get disappointed. So I just talk about things that I would just want to talk about my bridging them. You know, and luckily, I've been getting, great, reception, and I'm grateful for all of that.
Great is an understatement, man. You started in March, YouTube, and by December you had 11,000 subscribers. I'm sure you never saw that coming.
Never at all, because really and truly, I know persons who've been doing YouTube for years, and they've not reached to where I've been, but that don't mean that you're going to start getting big-headed and be like, oh, for me, come on, like man. I have a video with 70,000 views. That I mean nothing. I'm still very humble, and I'm still doing it for the love right now. Once you start doing it for the likes, that's when everything just start going downhill.
All right. Why was it important for you? You say it's, you just want to talk about things you talk about with the Virgin, but why was it important for you, especially when you came into this space, the radio show, to continue that discourse?
When I started, I didn't know about podcasting. I wasn't a fan of YouTube like that. So I to be honest, maybe I know about 4 or 5 YouTubers. So I never really sit down and said to myself that I'm going to do what everybody else was doing. Once I decided that I was going to do this, I said to myself that I wanted to talk about taboo topics. And taboo don't have to mean sex. It can mean anything at all that, our generation or our society within Jamaica and our Jamaican culture, we don't normally hear a lot of. There's not a medium for that. So when I said I'm going to start the radio show, I wanted to continue on that same course. Like, I never wanted for change and at all. And I think that is where the genuine support comes in.
Have you ever gotten compared to Ragashanti? I think you should.
Lo and behold, when I started, as a little youth, I used to sneak listen to Ragashanti. We all know who Dr. Cooper is, right? And this was the same studio that he sat in when he was on the radio. It was Newstalk. So when I pitched the idea to the manager, now she was his manager then. And he actually sent his blessings. Like when she was apparently just talking to her colleagues about the show and possibly taking on the show under her wings, he said that, listen, I've seen a couple of his work and I'm really pleased, and that alone was like, this is what nobody else wants it. I eat that. You understand that to the boss. And I am really and truly pleased by that. He is a legend in his own right. And to know that I am sitting in the same studio that he was in.
So you are part of a new generation of young people now.
Yes. And I think that is why people kind of gravitate to the show still, because, for his time, he kind of discussed kind of similar topics. And again, I can't recall if we have anything like this going on currently. So I think that is why people just kind of flock to it like how they are.
Do you think, back in Ragashanti's days, do you think that Jamaica as a society has moved on or has evolved when we talk about taboo topics?
No, because even though people I have friends, and I use that word, friends. I have friends who maybe look down on my content as carelessness. I have people who, because once I go in a sex topics any way, shape or form, or relationships or anything like that, them kind of look upon it as lewd and cross and this like, well, why is he talking about these type of things? So I have people who kind of look down on the show as carelessness, but I don't make that determinant at all, because at the end of the day, I'm not discussing anything that is also out of the world. I'm discussing topics that I believe that our generation needs advice on. Our generation needs to know that, hey, I'm a freaky type of person, and they might hear somebody else come on and say, the things that them are doing in them yard, them are do it too, and them can say, oh, rotted, so this is what me that try to hide from. So
it's not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal, but we've not evolved. Okay. We've not. People would think that, but we're not.
You use the word friends, and that's a direction I wanted to go. Like, how important is it to have a good set of friends around you?
It's the most important thing, and it's also not that important. Meaning that sometimes we believe that because and I've made a post about this, I think yesterday or today, about the people that you start your journey with is not necessarily the persons you have to end your journey with. Sometimes your friends don't see your vision, and because this person is your friend and you really respect and love their opinions, you use everything that you're saying now as Bible. So I say, if you approach your friend about a topic, I've approached my friend about a lot of topics that is now my best or most receiving topic, and them say, dog, no son, I'm about to talk about that. Or brother, I'm about to bring on the guest because the guest don't have a buzz. You understand me? So it's very important to have persons within your space who also believes in your brand and believes where you're going, and can also keep you level-headed. You don't want yes man, but you still want people who can say, hey, this is a good idea. If you believe in it, go for it.
And how you can make it better.
Exactly.
So do you have that core?
Yeah, man, because the same friend me have from me start entertainment is the same friends that I have now to today.
Yeah. I want to give you a topic. I don't think you've discussed it in depth, but you said it on your last episode. Can men and women be friends without thinking about?
So I'm gonna write this down, because really I want to talk about it on my podcast.
You should.
I spoke about it on my radio show, but I haven't discussed it, and I think I'm going to do it for my next episode.
I have a feeling we disagree still. You did say that yes, they can be friends.
Yeah, because I have a lot of female friends, and
yeah, but I mean, come on, if you call one of them right now and say, yo, come at me and go link.
That is not the point at hand. That is not the point at hand.
Then that can be a friendship.
But the point at hand is, or was, the reason I spoke about that topic is because I believe that, we make it seem like, say, we can't coexist with the opposite sex.
Yeah, of course.
And don't think about anything, nasty or anything sexual. And that's where I try to break the shackles of our generation, and God need to break us from that, because really and truly that is foolishness. We can, and we can be best friends with the opposite sex. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm gonna talk about it on the podcast. Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned also not being a very emotional person. How does that affect you in like relationships?
It has, because I don't really and it's nothing to boast or brag about, but I wasn't grown really and truly to explain my emotions, or to explain how I'm feeling within a particular moment. So it definitely put a damper on any relationship, friendships, anything at all, because at the end of the day, I won't say I love you much, and I won't express how I'm feeling. However, because of my actions. You understand? So yes, it has dampened a lot of relationships. I've been in countless amount of relationships. But that's one of them things, I work on it.
But is that negative though? Do you see that as a negative trait? Like guys being socialized not to show emotions and then they grow up?
It is a negative trait, because then your partner is dependent on you to communicate and to know when something is not going good, or to know when you have a problem, when you have an issue, or to know that you appreciate them. And because we weren't raised to show all those emotions and feelings, that's why so much of us have not been in no long-term relationships, and marriage is no longer a thing, and growing a family is no longer a thing, because we can't communicate, and we can't show feelings, we can't show emotions. But so it's a negative thing. So I'm gonna tell the youths them, say therapy is good, You understand?
But therapy is so expensive though. Like a whole heap of people can afford therapy.
Yeah, but you have a whole heap of different organizations that have free counselors. And when I spoke about my mental health episode, the representative from the Jamaica Health, whatever it is, I don't remember the terminology right now. She was telling us that there are so many organizations that you can call upon, and their guidance counselors and their people who you can talk to, and they can appoint somebody to you. So it's not necessarily, yes, privately it is expensive, but it's like, oh, you want to go to the gym and then something and work out. Your mental health is just as important.
Somebody who I can talk to that won't criticize me.
Judge, because the person don't really know you like that. Yeah. And then the person is also trained and go for school for no say, hey, when you say something that they don't believe in now, make up them face and say, dog, what you talk about? So that is someone who you can just go and offload all your pressures and struggles in life.
Another concern of mine, does that work though?
It does.
When you talk about it, you kind of feel freer, but the problem is still there.
It does, because then here we're going now. My therapist can literally tell me, an ongoing issue of mine was because something minute could have happened when I was 5. You see me? And then I can attack that and I can say, oh, hey, so anytime I'm feeling like that, I know where it is coming from, and I know how to move forward. So it helps. Yeah. It helps in the moment and it helps in the long run.
All right. Going back to you now, what do you plan or what do you want to do with your influence? You don't like the term influencer, but you do influence a lot of people. So what is it that you want to achieve with the influence?
You're right, I don't like the term influencers because I feel like people get it misconstrued what an influencer is. And our generation, we tend to be very negative. So they love to say, oh, you're influence, but trust and believe me, influencers are real. But for my influence, I always try to be myself. Because at the end of the day, when you get the term influencer, that's when the pressures start coming. You want to tweet certain things, and you want to post certain things, and you want to say certain things. But once you're your authentic self, nothing really wrong with that. So I can just be myself, and if that is me influencing you in any way, shape, or form, I don't have a problem with that. I'm not going to pretend on social media, and then when you meet me in real life, you say, but Kareem is a negative person, as a Kareem really, portray himself. But I try to attack issues just like mental health and men being emotional and mention emotions and stuff like that. That's what I can say. That's my biggest thing right now. Okay. Really and truly.
What does a successful career look like to you?
Successful career, of course, with a bag of money,
Yeah, of course.
Man, I don't care what anybody wants to say. Yes, you do it for the love and everything else that comes with it. However, you want to also be comfortable. You want to know that all your work is not going in vain, because to be recognized socially is not enough. So the first thing is to monetize everything that you're doing or that I'm doing, and to ensure that my bills then can pay and then we can stop me there. But a successful career outside of all of that is to, at the end of the day, I always say this, and I think Drake said it, I'm not gonna stop until he's on the all-time greatest list. So I'm not gonna done until our generation know who I am, yes, but there's so much more work to do. So I'm not gonna stop until 10 years down the line, like how we can talk about Ian Boyne and all the people there. Kareem BwoyaTingz. Yeah, man. Yeah,
And you alright, so at the moment, you take over YouTube, you take over the radio space, you want to go into TV. That's a dream and passion of yours.
Yeah, because it's when I start the podcast thing, to be honest, I just out of goals and aspiration, I wanted to have the radio show, and I did that within 2 months. And I believe that to conquer all different aspects and spectrums of media is very much important. So not everybody watches YouTube, not everybody listens to the radio, not everybody uses social media, but somebody might watch TV. You see me?
Yes,
so
true.
For me to have the radio show, I feel like I would tap into a different type of audience. And I would kind of have more control of a lot of things. So that is the aim. So anybody that listen out there will have no pull and no listen out.
I know a lot of journalist friends.
Yeah, man, see? Yeah, man, make a talk for them, make them know.
Alright, so wrapping up, I just going to ask you like 5 quick fire questions just to get to the people can know more about Kareem. Alright, so first thing, what's one artist that you'd be embarrassed to admit that you listen to? It's like me, I listen to Chance here. I don't,
I'm not going to say embarrassed, really and truly, but but I love Nicki Minaj music, no joke.
That's cool.
No, man, I love Nicki Minaj music, but...
Alright, when you go for drinks, what's your go-to order?
It depends on where. If I'm at TJ, which everybody knows it, I live at TJ, it's Long Island SD.
Okay. If you could do over one episode of your podcast, which one would it be and why?
None. Because all of them, like sometimes after you're done, I say, what should I have asked? But I think all of them gave me what I was asking for.
Okay.
So I'm proud of every single one. I would love to have back at Sean again for different reasons.
Okay. Okay, I'm sure we'd all do. Which high school would you have gone to other than Jamaica College?
Don't even ask
why
me
is
that.
it Wilmot
JC. Why is it Wilmot Boys? This guy.
Yeah.
JC, right through. And if
JC.
I never did pass for JC, my mother would have ensured that like
somewhere, somehow.
Yeah, man, because we didn't know what heap of people and what heap of JC old boys with influence. So I have to go JC.
Final question. What's a stereotype or misconception about you that people get wrong?
There's so much. That I'm not approachable, that my hype, that I am not easy to work with, that a whole heap of something, you know. But the easy to work with thing is just naturally, I tell people that I'm an introvert, and my team can tell you sometimes I come here, I am so quiet, but as soon as the cameras or them start roll, sit right on. When I came here, like you can see, like I was just sitting on the seat, like
that's exactly my personality. So
but then when it's time to work, it's time to work. So I think the unapproachable thing is just people just misreading who I am as a person.
All right. I just want to thank you for.
No more respect for. You know how long. I tell the people he reached out to me. From a couple months ago, and I swear to God, I never see the message until I don't even know how they end up see it. And I was just like, yo, I feel so bad
You're
about
busy,
this.
Man.
But
and it was right before your birthday there, bro.
You're right, yeah man. But respect same way, and thanks for having me on the platform, and
thank you.
Wishing you all the best. And this journey, it's a rough journey, but
I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it was.